Hey everyone, this is me, the Undead Viking, and this is Dwarven Smithy. This is a card game in which each person is going to be taking on the role of a Dwarven Smith that is in charge of their own forge, and each one is trying to become the best smith of the clan. Now, along the way, you're going to be refining lots of different gems and minerals. You are going to be tapping into the powers of magic runes, and you are going to be kind of like racing against everybody else to get to that end goal before anybody else does. This is a game where being able to manage both the cards in your hand and also the cards in your tableau that you have in front of you is paramount to victory, and each person is going to be trying to scramble and create the best possible items for the most possible gold before anybody else. So let me show you how the game is played. It's one of those games where at the very beginning it may seem a little confusing, but after the game starts clicking, it really starts to flow, and you find yourself really planning out your turn while the other people take their actions, and as you figure out like just exactly how to put the different pieces of the puzzle together to make sure that you have this economy of actions going on your end. So let me show you how the game is playing, and then we will go ahead and I'll talk a little bit more about it in my final thoughts. Alright, so here we go. This is Dwarven Smithy, and I'm going to walk you through how the game is played. Now, to begin with, each person is going to get their own little dwarf. I took this one because, I'll show you the other side so you can get a better look. As my friend Tim said, this is the Kevin Costner if he was a dwarf. And I will say, yes, it does kind of look like Kevin Costner. But anyway, regardless. So you have, this is your player card, and these little symbols here on either side. The most important one that you have to remember is these numbers. This 4, this 2, and this 7. That is the number of cards that you can have on that section. So you can have up to 4 cards in your market. You can have up to 7 cards in your workshop. You can have 2 apprentices and 2 tools. So that's what those are what you can when you fill this out. So that's the most important part. Now, the other things, they actually reference the different actions and stuff that you'll be taking, and I'll walk through those here in just a little bit. Now, as you can see, there are these 2 giant piles of money. This is a game that is going to be based upon money and economy, and in fact, the money is your victory points. I love games that have your resources are your victory points, because basically at certain times during the game, you will have to use victory points as like an investment towards making more victory points later. And so I really like that aspect when you're like forced to use what you're ostensibly trying to save to try to win the game. But regardless, each person will get 15 of these golden coins, and so I'll just take this 5, and that 5, and that 5, and then you have 15 coins, and as the game progresses, you'll be adding to that total. You also get 2 of these guild cards, and I've shuffled these. I don't actually even know what I'm going to have here. You can get 2 guild cards, and you're going to get 4 of these resource cards. You have a hand limit of 6, so that can be increased later, and I'll kind of show you how that works here in just a little bit. So let's just see what I got here. And so guild cards are things that you build, and resource cards are resources that you are going to be using to create things. So the resources that I got, as you can see here, I have a silver, I have a gold, I have a frost rune, and I should turn this around, so I have an iron. Now you notice that all of these cards here, except for the rune here, they have, on the other side, they have this unrefined area here. So when you actually are going to use the card and actually play it, all resources that have an unrefined side come into play unrefined, and then later on you refine them, and then they can be used for what they are. So let me just actually show this to you. So take the silver bar, for example. So when it's unrefined, you can see that it has a buy value of 2. So if I was to buy this from the market, it would cost me 2 coins. If I sell it to the market, it's worth 1. Now when it gets refined, it then has a buy value of 3 and a sell value of 2. Pretty straightforward, right? Alright, so that, and I should show you, The runes just don't have a refinement. They just, there's no refined area. So these come into play perfectly good, and you can see it has a buy value of 16 if it was in the market, and you could sell it to the market for 8. All right, so that is the resources that I got. Now, the guild cards I got are things. These are things I can make, or in some cases, if you get an apprentice, it's somebody you can hire. But I got a goblet, and I got a grinding stone. Now, each of these has the stuff that you need to use to create it up here. Now, in this case, this up here would be, if we go ahead and look at my cool little thing, the silver bar. So if I have a silver bar, I can make a goblet. Over here, on this grinding stone, we have gold and a rune. So, as luck would have it, if I have a gold and a rune that I could create this grinding stone. Now, I'll talk more about that in just a little bit. So now I have my starting hand. I also, got this iron as well. Now, normally, the first 2 phases of your turn are when you're refining things that you have in your workshop, or finishing projects that you're building. But the first turn of the game, you're not going to have that. You're not going to have anything you're working on. Nothing's other. So the first turn of your game is actually kind of going to be the same a lot of the time, but that's fine. It's just your build-up phase, right? So in your first turn of the game, what you're going to end up doing is you can play your cards. There's several different actions you can take, but for the most part, a lot of times what you're going to be doing is you're going to be playing cards. And you're going to be playing cards in your workshop, or playing cards in your market, and so forth. Things come in, tools and apprentices will come into play after you finish those projects, and then they'll go into those locations. So in this case, your first turn of the game, like I said, is going to probably be, and I might not want to show the fact that I have a frost rune, just because of the fact that I don't want everybody to know that, because I can always play it later. But what I can do is I can put my, my iron down, and my gold down, and my silver down. And and notice I have a 7-card maximum down here. So right now I have those 3 and I'm fine, right? So, and I know that I have the right ingredients that I need to make these, but I don't play those yet because of the fact that I don't have the refined ingredients for those created yet. And that's pretty much going to be my first turn. Play's going to go around the table, but once I'm done, what I'm going to do is I get to draw. I'm going to be able to draw cards to put them back more cards back into my hand. Now I get to draw 4 cards, and I have a hand limit of 6. So in this situation, because of the fact that I have 3 cards, I might very well want to play my Frost Rune out. So if I do that, then I can draw 4 more cards. Now remember, the Frost Rune does not come in unrefined because there is no unrefined side. Now this combination can be anything I want it to be. It could be, a couple. I still have these 2 guild cards, so maybe I want to draw 3 resources so I can, build new things. And let's draw 1 guild card to see if I get something else. So in this case, I got an apprentice. So this apprentice is actually pretty useful. I can, if I have a gold and an iron, I can use it to hire Roar, and Roar will increase my hand limit, my hand card limit. So instead of 6, I'll be able to have 7 cards in my hand. That's actually pretty good. So I'm going to keep that. Let's see what I got for resources. I got, let's see here. Oh, I got an emerald, which is a gem. You can see the gems have an unrefined sign as well. And I got a mithril. That's pretty good. Another iron. So this is actually a pretty good draw for me. So now I got my new hand. I'll wait for my next turn. So it goes all the way around, comes back to me, stuff happens, what have you. So now my next turn starts. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to refine my items. So I'm going to go ahead and turn all 3 of those over like so. So now they're refined and they're able to be used. Now I can actually start projects. So as I said before, now I have a decision to make though. I do have an iron and a gold. I could, if I wanted to, get Roar instead. Now, once you start a project, however, you have to keep that project going. You can't ever start it over. So, like if I had started my grinding stone last turn, I could, in case, I would have the possibility of, like if I started that, I would not have the possibility to switch over to Roar if I wanted to. And I should actually just talk about the grinding stone really quick. So what this does is that if you have the grinding stone, you are able to, because it's a tool, once it's done, I could sell it. I could sell it for the 35 coins that it's worth when it's done, and that would be 35 victory points, right? However, what I could do is that it is -1 gold resource if I'm creating a tool, an item, or a king's item. So basically the big and I'll talk about king's items here in just a little bit. They're one of the ways that you like get the game to the end, and plus it's worth a ton of gold when those are done. So this might actually be very helpful. It'd be easier to create things in the future. But so I'd have to decide. And plus, if I just wanted to get rid of the tool, I could. So let's just build the tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it down, and then I'm going to add my gold onto there, and I'm going to add my frost rune onto there. And I can, you can do it like this too, so you can show everybody. Now here's the deal. Remember there's 7 cards maximum down here? So with those 7 card maximum, this is still 3 cards because there's 3 cards in that max. So now I have 5 total. So let's say I wanted to, build my goblet. So I go ahead and I can put my goblet on top of my silver, but that's going to take up another, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've only got 1 spot left in there. So, but I want to refine my emerald. So I'm going to have to put this down so it refines next turn. So I'm going to place that down like so, and it'll refine next turn, and I'll have a refined emerald. Hopefully I'll get an ingredient, or I could just sell it because it's worth some money. But here's the problem. I have these 2 cards here that are refined. I want to be able to build. I would definitely want to get that mithril going, right? Because I'm going to have something. So what I can do, however, is I can move this up to the market. And when you move anything up to the market, you have to tilt it slightly like so, to show the fact that you've just moved into the market. I'll explain why in just a second. Basically, that's to prevent you from, being able to sell something immediately. You can't sell anything to the market or the warehouse here until you've untilted your card. You can't untilt your card to the end of your turn. But now, because I've done that, I can put that down. I can put my mithril down, unrefined, and hopefully it can go through the process of getting refined for me, and I can use it later. Now, here's the trick. After I'm done with all this turn, what I can do is I go like this, and I put it down there. But what we have here is that, and so next turn I could sell it. Right now it's worth 1 coin. I could sell it to the warehouse for a coin if I wanted to. I probably wouldn't, but I could if I wanted to on my next turn. However, if somebody else needed this iron for an ingredient for one of their things, they could then purchase that from me because it's sitting out in my market and is available for sale. So you use the market as some extra spaces, right, to put your items out there, and hopefully you can get them processed, and hold on to them because you run out of room down at your workshop. But you run the risk of having them being bought from you. So that's just something to keep in mind. So if you do sell it to the warehouse, you just go ahead and you add it to the warehouse like so, and you make sure that the most expensive buy price is available. So in this case it's 2. And then other cards get added on like so, and I should twist that around. Other cards get added on to the tableau 1 by 1 as they're put in. And so if you have to buy them. Now here's the cool thing. Well, I shouldn't say cool thing if you're buying something, but let's say you wanted this mithril, and this emerald is on top of it. It says the buy price is 6, but you have to add 1 because of the card that is on top of it. So when things get buried, they actually cost more as the game goes on. So that's how that warehouse works. So let me just put these back. And so now we have this action. So it's going to go, and now I get to draw again. So I'm down to 1 resource in this guy. So let's go ahead and draw 1 card here. And I got another apprentice. Let me see. Let me draw 1 more here. And I got 2 more apprentices actually. That's kind of cool. See, this kind of stinks though, because of the fact that I've got these 3 apprentices, right? And I can't actually, I can only have 2 apprentices available. But that's one of the things. You can put an item like an apprentice up into your market, and then and they do have buy prices, so people can buy them out of your market, but they can't be sold to the warehouse. However, you can discard them, out of your market, to get rid of them. Also, if you have 2 apprentices already, and you get another apprentice, and you train them up, and by going through the hire process, you can replace one that you have available to get rid of it as well, like that. So that's how that works. Anyway, so I'm going to show you then, now it's come around the next turn, right? So I have both of these, they're unrefined. They will refine, like so, at the beginning of my turn, and now I'll finish these projects. So I will sell, both of these will go to the discard. This goes to the discard, that goes to the discard. I get 7 coins for making the goblet as my reward for that. If I can find a 5, there you go. Add that in there. And now, with the grinding stone, I have the choice of making it a tool, which I'm going to do, and then I go ahead and put these resources away, or I could have sold it for the price that's on there. And then that was my option. So now my next turn begins, and you're going to go through the whole process again. With using your resources and everything to build up more things in your smithy. Now, let me find a king's item here, just so you can kind of see. And there's other things in here. Let me show you, like, just like a breastplate that's worth 10. Repair gauntlets worth 18. Okay, here we go. So here's a bow, True Strike. Okay, so this is a big special, big weapon. It's worth 75 coins if you complete it. So, as you need, in this case, you need a silver, you need an iron, you need any gem, and any rune. So, I'm going to kind of cheat here and just dig up these things. So let's go ahead and, so we needed an iron, we needed a silver, we needed any gem, which we have, I believe. Yes, we have a gem. And we need a rune. So, and then here's a lightning rune. Alright, so when it comes time to build your big item, your king's item, this one, what you're going to do is you're going to take the ingredients that you have that are going to make up, and you put them all in a stack just like you did before, but you don't show these, and there's a reason why. You turn it face down like so, and you put that down there, and it's built just like anything else. However, you don't get the coins for it right away. So, and when you're done, you put it up into your market like so, and you cover the whole stack up, and it stays there until the end of the game, taking up 1 spot in your market. And the reason for that is that there are 3 types of those, the big items. There are weapons, there are armors, and there are shields. And whoever makes the best one of those types, the most expensive, the most value, if you will, they get a bonus of 25 coins for creating the best one. Now, there are 3 ways the game ends. You either run out of your guild cards, you run out of your resource cards, or one person manages to build 4 or more king's items. And you might say, how you build more? There is an apprentice that will allow you to have up to 5 spots in your market, so you could build an extra one. Once any of those particular ways of ending the game occurs, then the game has one more round. Everybody gets one more round, not the person that actually, caused the end of the game. Say, like, you drew the last of the guild cards, you then caused the end of the game. Every other person would get one more round, and then you total up the total number of coins that everybody has, and whoever has the most coins would then win the game. So it's kind of a neat thing where, like, as these decks get lower and lower, as people are drawing and drawing and drawing those cards, other players can kind of either speed up or slow down the game, depending upon which deck they draw their cards from. And, whether or not, like, they can see that they could maybe cause the end of the game, but maybe they want to try to hold off and, get one last good round in before somebody else, or for somebody else to end the game. So they get one more turn before everybody else is done as well. So, and I do like timing mechanisms like that. I like it when the players are kind of in charge of how long a game is. But inevitably, somebody is going to finish those items, or somebody is going to take those cards, and the game is over. And whoever, as I said, has the most coins will win the game. It is a very, very fun card game. I like games that allow me to build things. I like feeling like I'm constructing something. In this game, even though it's a card game, it does very much feel like that. So it is highly enjoyable. It also, just like I said, like, the management of all the different sections of your forge, of your smithy, if you will. Is very challenging, and it's like and being able to time things, because of the fact when you build things and they take up a big giant lot of spot, especially something that takes 3 or 4 ingredients to create, having it sit there and take up an extra turn, you can't place any more cards, so it's kind of has this like build up, and then you cash in, and then you have to build up again, and that sort of thing, and I enjoy that aspect, that process of it. So there's a lot of stuff going on that I really liked, and let me talk more about that in just a little bit. Alright, there's a lot of things that I really like about this game, and I've already touched on a few of them in the how to play section, as far as like, being able to build something, or like to like the whole process of like putting everything together and figuring out how you're gonna like manage all the different minerals and the different sections of your smithy. But and I even like the theme. Whenever I played like D&D, I've always kind of gravitated towards playing a dwarf. I don't, maybe it's something to do with the beard or what have you, but it was just something that kind of just appealed to me as far as the game is concerned. Now, mechanically wise, the stuff about it that I really like, I've already said, but let me just touch on it again. I like the whole process of each, like the players being able to kind of determine how quickly the game is over. Now, you can play it with like unlimited resources, so if you get through the resource deck, you can just shuffle up the discards, if you will. There's an auction variant that I found that was really cool as well. I should also mention that there are, like, the cards that I showed you, that was like the standard game. But there is actually like a set of cards that you replace, like some of like the standard cards of the game out, and you have these like beginners cards you can play with. Now, I mean, we played with the beginners cards the first time, and I mean, I didn't think looking back after that first play, we probably didn't have to play with these. But if you are going to be playing, with people that are new to strategy board gaming, if you will, or if you want to enjoy the game with your kids, a more family-esque type of thing, there is these easier beginner cards, if you will, and I like when designers add that in, because it is always nice, like, if you're worried about the game being a little bit too complex, to be able to ramp up the difficulty or whatever is always a nice option. But just the whole process of like, collecting the cards, having the different resources, the whole process of like build, cash in, and then start over and build, cash in, and I mentioned the economy of actions, and I think that's ultimately what you're trying to do. You're trying to make sure that you have the right items in the right places at the right times, and not having any waste. Like, you don't want to have a turn where you don't really get to do anything. You don't want to be like resting on your laurels trying to find the right cards to build the right things when everybody else is seeming to find the right things to click. And there's been a lot of times when like I've had a weapon or something that needs a gem, right? And I just can't get a gem. I can't draw one to save my Dickens. And the thing is, sometimes you just have to give up on it. You have to get that card out of your hand. You gotta put it in your market, let somebody else buy it off you, discard it, get rid of it, get something else to use, because you have the resources, right? You just need to get something that uses the resources that you have. Forget about that one. Holding on to a card for like 3-4 turns and not building it is a waste of a spot in your hand. And the number of cards in your hand and the number of cards in your tableau is so limited, you really can't do that. And that's one of the really cool things about the game, is the fact that like you've always got to be pressing forward, and if you got stuff that is garbage, get rid of it. Sell it to the market, get the coins you can for it, and just move forward from that point, right? Or just discard it in the case of guild cards. If nobody else buys it out of your market, just get rid of it, discard it, move on, find something else. Because while you're sitting there waiting for that perfect card to draw and put in your hand, everybody else is building stuff, and so you're just not earning any points at that point. So, I mean, and like I said before, I like games where you have to spend your victory points in order to make more victory points. It's a challenging decision, and that's what makes games fun. Challenging decisions that kind of like spin the game a little bit on its ear and just make you actually, instead of just like, okay, I'll turn in these 7 cubes and get 14 points, it's like, do I spend these 11 victory points to hopefully get 18 in a turn or two? You know what I mean? So there's that kind of fun aspect to it as well. So, I mean, for theme alone, I was really intrigued by it, but then after I played it and just how it mechanically all fit together really, really well, and how, like, you know, just the whole process of creating your little dwarven, you know, creation engine, if you will, I was really, really surprised. I'm not going to say surprised, because I went into it knowing I was going to like it, and turns out I really did like it. So there you go. That is Dwarven Smithy. If you have any questions about it, ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. And until next time, I am the Undead Viking, telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright.